Space was never truly silent, not out here, at the borderlines of the Keeler Dominion. The comm channels were always alive with chatter, with the hum of engines, with the rhythmic pulse of patrol pings echoing through the void. But tonight, as Captain Sarek Venn stood on the command deck of the Vigilant Star, he realized something horrifying. The void was dead. No chatter. No pings. No sound but the lonely static of open channels. He turned slowly, his dark eyes sweeping across the bridge crew. Each of them felt it too, that impossible hush. Fingers hovered above consoles, breath caught in throats. The Vigilant Star was one of 5 heavy cruisers tasked with guarding this stretch of border, a sector known for pirate ambushes and rebel raids. And yet, there was nothing. Not nothing. Too much nothing. Where are the others? Sarek's voice was low, almost reverent, as though speaking too loudly might wake something lurking in the void. Still no response from the Iron Lance or Sword of Eric. "Captain," said the comms officer, her face pale in the glow of her display. "All 5 fleet signatures were present on sensors 30 minutes ago. Now." She swallowed. "Now they're gone." The words were a blade to Sarek's chest. 5 ships, each bristling with weapons, trained crews, and imperial pride, gone without a single distress call, without a trace of debris. Not even a plasma signature to mark a reactor breach. The Dominion Navy had a word for this. Ghosting. No one liked to speak of it. Because ghosting wasn't war. Ghosting wasn't sabotage. Ghosting was when an entire ship, or worse, an entire fleet, simply vanished. Sarek's jaw tightened. "Bring us to full battle alert. Launch recon drones. I want a 360 sweep of this sector." The orders went out, and the Vigilant Star's deck erupted with quiet, efficient motion. But Sarek's gut twisted as the drones shot into the void, their data feeds streaming back in real time. One by one, the feeds died. Static swallowed them. Then, just as the last drone winked offline, the lights on the bridge flickered. For a single heartbeat, darkness swallowed the crew, and in that blackness, something moved past the viewport. When the lights returned, Sarek saw it. A ship. A massive ship. It drifted silently into view, half-shrouded in darkness, its hull scarred and ancient. No Dominion registry code gleamed along its side. No transponders lit up the scanners. The vessel was black as a corpse's eye, its design unlike anything in Imperial records. "Identify it," Sarek ordered, voice sharp. We can't, Captain," the sensor officer stammered. "It's not broadcasting anything, no IFF, no engine signature. But it's right on top of us." Sarek stepped closer to the viewport, staring. The ship was wrong. It seemed to swallow starlight, its angles twisting the eye as though the void itself bent around it. And then he saw them, marks along its hull, glowing faintly like embers, symbols no one had seen for 1,000 years. "Sir," the tactical officer whispered, "those are old war sigils. That ship, it can't exist." Before Sarek could respond, the comm station crackled to life. Not with words. With a sound. A low, resonant hum, so deep it vibrated in the bones, rising in pitch until the air itself seemed to shiver. It wasn't speech. It wasn't language. It was a warning. "Helm, get us out of here," Sarek began, but the order came too late. The ghost ship's hull lit up like the eye of some ancient predator. A lance of white light shot out, passing within meters of the Vigilant Star's bow. It hadn't hit them. It had marked them. Every system on the cruiser went haywire, shields collapsed, weapons locked down, engines froze. It was as though the Vigilant Star had been turned into a floating coffin. And then, the ghost ship vanished. Not into hyperspace. Not on scanners. It simply wasn't there anymore. Sarek's crew sat frozen, every man and woman gripping their consoles as if letting go might invite whatever that thing was back. "Status report," Sarek said finally, his voice a hoarse whisper. "Engines, coming back online," engineering said shakily. "Weapons too." "But, sir, the other ships." Sarek turned to the sensor display. They were gone. All 5 Dominion cruisers. Gone from the sector. Gone from existence. Only the Vigilant Star remained. And it was no longer a hunter. It was prey. Sarek drew a slow breath and straightened his shoulders. "Transmit to command," he said. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them the legends are real." He stared into the darkness where the ship had been, his hands clenched behind his back. "And tell them the ghost ship has returned." The report from Captain Sarek then reached Dominion High Command within hours. And within hours, panic began to spread. At first, the Admiralty dismissed it as sensor error, a single ship's paranoia magnified by the void. But then came the second report. And the third. Within 2 standard days, 7 sectors had gone silent. Entire border patrol groups failed to check in. Recon stations, fortified outposts, even orbital shipyards, gone. No distress signals. No wreckage. No survivors. Only silence. The High Command convened an emergency council on Caltris Prime. 12 admirals gathered around a circular table carved from the bones of a Leviathan killed in the Empire's first war of conquest, a reminder of Dominion power, of Dominion destiny. But that night, none of them felt powerful. "This is no pirate action," Admiral Zoe Marek said, slamming a clawed hand against the table. "Pirates do not make entire fleets disappear." "Perhaps it is rebellion," another suggested. Marek turned on him, teeth bared. "Rebellion does not leave nothing behind." The chamber fell silent as the holodisplay above the table flickered to life, showing the last known data from the Vigilant Star. The grainy recording of the black ship hovered in the air, its impossible silhouette sending a ripple of unease through the hardened war leaders. "Ancient design," one admiral muttered. "Pre-Dominion. It should be in a museum, not prowling our borders." "Yet it is there," Marek growled. "And it is taking our fleets apart with precision. This is not an enemy who seeks to conquer. This is an enemy who seeks to erase." The council erupted into argument, calls for more patrols, for heavier armaments, for the mobilization of dreadnought fleets. Fear made them loud. Fear made them reckless. But fear also made them hesitate. And hesitation was exactly what the ghost ship fed upon. 3 days later, Captain Sarek then stood on the bridge of the Vigilant Star once again, staring at a fleet twice the size of the one that had vanished. High Command had ordered a full-scale sweep, 10 cruisers, 3 battleships, and a carrier, to hunt down and destroy the mysterious vessel. The mission briefing had been simple: make an example of whatever lurked in the void. But Sarek's gut twisted as the fleet entered the abandoned sector. The void felt heavier here, darker somehow, as though the stars themselves held their breath. "Keep all ships in tight formation," he ordered over the comnet. "Maintain constant data link. If anything happens, we respond as one." It was the only thing keeping the other captains calm. The fleet's officers were seasoned warriors, but their crews had heard the rumors. They whispered of the ghost ship as though it were alive, a predator stalking the dark between the stars. Hours passed. Nothing moved. And then, without warning, every screen aboard every ship in the task force went black. For 10 heartbeats, the fleet was blind. When the displays came back online, the ghost ship was there. Drifting. Watching. "Fire all batteries," the fleet admiral barked. Space erupted with light. Torpedoes streaked toward the dark ship. Plasma cannon spat fury into the void. The barrage should have torn it apart, enough firepower to shatter a moon. But the ghost ship did not burn. The weapon's fire simply vanished. No impacts. No explosions. Just silent absorption. Then the ghost ship answered. A ripple of energy spread outward, passing through the Dominion fleet like a wave. Where it touched, ships went dark, lights snuffed out, engines silenced, weapons dead. One by one, their reactors went cold. Sarek felt his heart slam against his ribs as the Vigilant Star's systems flickered. Emergency lights cast the bridge in crimson glow. "Reboot everything," the chief engineer shouted over comms. "Manual overrides, cutoffs, anything." A scream tore through the commnet. Not human. Not mechanical. Something primal, something that made every hair on Sarek's body stand on end. "Admiral's flagship is gone," someone cried. Sarek spun to the viewport just in time to see it. The massive battleship simply blinked out of existence, leaving nothing but a faint shimmer of displaced starlight. "Sir," the sensor officer shouted, panic in her voice. "We're losing ships, 6, 7, 9. Helm." Sarek roared. "Get us clear. All ships, break formation, scatter." But it was too late. The ghost ship pulsed once more, a silent, blinding flash. And suddenly, half the fleet was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. Sarek's breath came fast. The Vigilant Star's engines coughed back to life, as though some unseen hand had allowed it. Around them, only 3 other cruisers remained. "Retreat!" Sarek barked. "All surviving ships, retreat!" The survivors fled, their drives burning hard, leaving the cursed sector behind. Only when the stars of friendly space appeared in the viewport did Sarek allow himself to breathe. By the time the fleet remnants reached Caltris Prime, word had already spread. Not just to high command, but across the Empire. Every surviving crewman spoke the same words, their voices hollow, their eyes haunted. "You cannot fight it." And then came the worst part. Across the border sectors, Dominion fleets began pulling back from their posts, not by order, but by fear. Captains refused to patrol. Crews abandoned stations, slipping away on civilian transports. Entire garrisons mutinied rather than face the void. The ghost ship did not need to destroy the Empire's fleets. It only needed them to fear. And fear was spreading faster than any war. Caltris Prime had never been this quiet. The Dominion capital world, normally a hive of activity, seemed frozen under an invisible weight. Merchant traffic slowed, newsfeeds broadcast endless speculation, and the once proud Admiralty found itself unable to hide the truth. Fleet after fleet had abandoned their posts. Not from orders. From terror. The ghost ship had become more than a threat, it had become a legend. Stories spread like wildfire through the lower decks, that it hunted cowards, that it could smell fear, that it was the spirit of the Dominion's first victims come to claim vengeance. And still, ships kept vanishing. In the high command chamber, Admiral Zoe Marek stood like a statue, glaring at the holomap that showed the Empire's borders crumbling inward. "This is untenable," one of his advisors said nervously. "If the fleets continue to withdraw, the entire Dominion will." "They are withdrawing," Marek snarled. "No matter what I order, no matter what I threaten, they run." His clawed hand closed around the edge of the table. He had commanded wars that had burned planets, but this was different. This enemy did not fight, did not negotiate, did not leave anything behind to strike back at. "Then we make our stand," Marek said finally, his voice cold as void ice. "Admiral? We gather what remains of the Dominion's fleets, every dreadnought, every carrier, every gunship, and we face this thing head-on. If we run, the fear spreads until the Empire tears itself apart. If we fight and lose, at least we die showing the Dominion that we tried." His advisors hesitated, then bowed. Within a week, the greatest concentration of military power since the conquest wars assembled in the dead sector where it had all begun. Hundreds of warships floated in formation, forming a steel wall against the void. And in the heart of it all was the vigilant star. Captain Sarek Ven stood once again at his command console, his face carved from stone. The crew moved with a grim determination. They knew why they were here. They knew what they were facing. And they knew that they might never come home. "Fleet reports ready, Captain," his XO said quietly. Sarek nodded. "Open all channels." Across the entire armada, thousands of crewmen fell silent as Sarek's voice filled their comms. "Today, we do not run," he said, his voice calm, steady. "Today, we stand. The ghost ship has haunted us, stolen our brothers and sisters, and made us fear the very dark we were sworn to master. No more. We will meet it, we will fire, and we will remind it, and ourselves, what it means to face the Dominion." For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then a roar erupted across the channels, a thunderous cheer that shook away the last remnants of fear. And then, the stars went out. Not all of them, just enough. Just enough to signal that it was here. The ghost ship appeared, vast and black, its impossible silhouette dwarfing even the largest dreadnought. Its hull glowed faintly, the ancient sigils burning like the eyes of a dead god. "Target lock." Sarek barked. Hundreds of targeting solutions snapped into place. "Fire." The void exploded. Every gun, every missile, every torpedo in the fleet unleashed at once, turning the darkness into a storm of fire and fury. The ghost ship was swallowed by the barrage. And for a moment, just a moment, Sarek thought they had done it. Then the light faded. The ship still drifted there, untouched. It pulsed once. The pulse was silent, yet every ship in the armada shuddered. Systems flickered. Some went dark immediately, their lights snuffed out as though the crews had simply ceased to exist. "Keep firing," Sarek shouted. But before the order could finish leaving his lips, the ghost ship moved. Not with thrusters. Not with any propulsion known to science. It simply wasn't where it had been. And suddenly it was among them. Dreadnoughts vanished in silence. Carriers blinked out of reality. Entire wings of fighters went dark, their pilots never screaming, just gone. But still, the fleet fought. Still, the vigilant star fired. And then, something changed. For the first time, the ghost ship hesitated. Its strange, ember-like sigils flared, brighter than ever, and for the first time, Sarek felt something from it. Not malice. Not anger. Recognition. "Captain," the sensor officer cried. "Its shields are weakening." Sarek's breath caught. "Focus fire on its core, now." The remaining ships turned everything they had on the glowing heart of the vessel. The void erupted again, blinding white, and this time, the ghost ship trembled. The pulse it released was different, not a weapon, but a sound. A deep, resonant tone that echoed through every hull, every deck, every heart. And then it was gone. This time, it did not erase ships. This time, it simply left. The surviving fleet floated in stunned silence. Systems flickered back online. Engines reignited. And one by one, the crews realized what had happened. They had not destroyed it. But they had faced it. When the fleet returned to Caltris Prime, they were not greeted with mourning, but with cheers. Word spread fast, the ghost ship had retreated. Dominion banners were raised again along the border. Crews who had deserted began to report back to duty. Fear had broken the Empire once. But that day, standing in the dark, they had broken fear in return. And though the ghost ship was still out there, somewhere beyond the stars, every Dominion captain now carried the same quiet vow. "Next time it comes, we will be ready."